Throughout these presentations of myth, we've discussed past ancient myths, myths in conflict, and our own myths of modern day. Now we turn to the future of myth, or myths of the future. These mythic futures help us understand what it is we can become, in some cases, whether we like it or not. In this presentation, we will discuss Yuval Harari's Three Humanisms and project their adoption as essential to the future myths of humanity. Harari categorizes humanism as a religion, one addressing the postmodernist problem of meaning. In modernity, a human needs to be in touch with their own feelings to find the true meaning of their own actions. Thus, they turn to the psychologist as they would to a medieval priest. When looking at feelings in this humanism, something is bad only if it provokes another to feel bad. Ethics are of the if it feels good, do it variety. In politics, the voter feels their way into the right choice. In art, beauty remains in the eye of the one perceiving. The education of modern humanism is the teaching of personal agency and autonomy. Discerning one's feelings is key to knowing oneself and one's own inner voice. You can see this is prevalent in some of the Disney production of the 2000 teens in Ralph Wrecks the Internet or in Toy Story 4 in the search for the true voice or one's single, authentic inner voice. Harari then presents three different knowledge formulae to help us understand how knowledge and the perception of knowledge in the educated person has evolved up to today. Furthermore, these different perceptions of knowledge are very much at odds now. There is the medieval formula of knowledge equals scriptures times logic. Then there's the knowledge formula of science that came after this medieval version, which sees knowledge as empirical times mathematics data. And then there's the humanist formula, which states that knowledge is experience times sensitivity. One must know and follow one's inner voice, which is how one can know and process all experience through emotional thoughts. The answer to all grand questions then are therein or there you in. Which formula of these three do you most appreciate? Harari names three different kinds of humanism. The orthodox version is liberal humanism and holds the authenticity of the inner voice as sacred. Then there is socialist humanism, which is focused rather on the feelings of others as a whole, or the whole in a collectivist utilitarianist fashion, as I see it. Finally, there is evolutionary humanism, which is the same as what we used to call social Darwinism, where conflict leads to the selection and creation of a superior society and therefore superior class of humanoid. Students in their early 20s, much to my chagrin, often choose this last version as their preferred form of humanism. Which one do you gravitate towards? Is there another humanism? Harari presents the communist version of liberal humanism from China as providing the socialist version out of which a final humanism may derive, namely a techno-humanism, giving rise to a myth surrounding techno-religion. And yet, we are already seeing this come to us in the form of social media algorithms and Hollywood films that present to us a future where technology is the salvation of humankind. One quote from Harari's Homo Deus Chapter 7 sparks much debate among my students. Are these new technologies killing all the gods and spirits as more and more young people abandon the medieval myths they have received from their parents? Those myths that Campbell also believes can no longer answer the questions of the future that has arrived already? These will be the basis for the new technology, a techno-religion, where the beliefs extend from the liberal humanist inner voice that tells us to live forever if we can upload our consciousness to the cloud in everlasting life. At this point, we have to question our own grand questions and their relevance. Is who am I and why am I here even a relevant question any longer? What about the other questions of what is life and so on? We see these play out today in art, the place that both Campbell and Harari give to the myth makers of today, or the priests of the future for that matter. Where do you see this? Can you see it in Campbell's analysis of Darth Vader? Where else in Star Wars? How about Game of Thrones? The myths there are made to create the conflicts, and yet they are all sufficient for our day. Here are two quotes to ponder from Harari, Homo Deus, chapter 7. How much do you agree with them? In the next presentation, we'll move on to Harari's view of the gods that will come in a future God creation by humans themselves.